I can't believe I just realized this. Not that many people in the law of assumption community are talking about inspired action and how magical and important it is. I hear law of attraction enthusiasts talking about inspired action all the time, but why have I not heard that many people who use the law of assumption and advocate for it talking about inspired action? And what even is inspired action? Let's get into it. Hello everyone, it's Gigi and welcome back to my channel. We talk all about the law of assumption, mindset, manifestation, and spirituality. And we are the Journey fam, so thanks for joining us. I was not planning on making this video right now. I was actually on my way out, but I felt inspired to record this. And that's what today's video is all about, inspired action. In order to understand what inspired action is, let's talk about what it isn't. It isn't impulsive behavior, just acting on our impulses randomly and looking for instant gratification. That's not inspired action. It's also not thinking, is this inspired action? And then taking the action. That's the opposite of inspired action. Here's a really effective rule of thumb. If you have to ask yourself or ask someone else if something is inspired action, it's not inspired action. Following your happiness moment to moment, within reason, of course, use common sense, but following your heart, which won't lead you astray, and taking actions that feel good to you and not living in an energy of pressure and stress, that's when you're really in the flow, really in alignment, really taking inspired action. You can usually only connect the dots of how the puzzle pieces fell into place so perfectly after the fact, because in the moment, there's no way for you to have that perspective. So even though you might not be able to identify it as inspired action in the moment, there are some patterns you can recognize when you're looking back and reflecting on your behavior and when you felt your best and when you felt like you were really living in your passion and purpose. And usually it was doing something that felt very natural to you, something that was lighting you up, something where you lost track of the time and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, an hour passed and I had no idea. Another telltale sign is that in the moment, it felt like the path of least resistance, but not in a lazy way. Like you had this nagging feeling that if you didn't just send that email or pick up the phone or whatever it was in that moment, it would have been more effort for you to not do that. A lot of artists experience this inspired action, urge to take action that they just have to pick up their paintbrush or start writing that first chapter of that book, write down an idea on the bus, on the subway before they lose track of it. But it feels like the next natural thing to do. And you will distinguish it from anxiety or a fearful action because of how it feels in your body. There is a levity, a lightness, an excitement to it, not a darkness, a heaviness, a tightness in the chest. You'll be able to tell whether it's fear or intuition. You will be able to feel it if you take a minute to really put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and feel into your body. When you're following the breadcrumbs of your inspiration and taking inspired action on a daily basis, you're really accessing the state of the wish fulfilled so much more easily. The more frequently you can return to a state, the faster your desired reality hardens into fact, as Neville would say. I really think this is the only key to the law of assumption that you need. Knowing how to embody a state and access it frequently, you really don't have to overthink it. And there will be so many synchronicities and serendipitous moments that you're like just gobsmacked that things are happening like this positive snowball effect in your favor. Do not take action out of fear, anger, or desperation. Try to take inspired action as often as possible. And I understand we have human responsibilities that sometimes we don't want to do as adults. There are a lot of things that we have to deal with in the 3D. But if we can try to not feel like we're forcing everything that we're doing, it will allow our lives to unfold in such an enjoyable way instead of feeling like we're going against the grain. Even in the mundane moments, finding reasons to be grateful, finding reasons to be inspired, and keeping your ears perked up for things that you can do to follow your happiness, even when you're in the midst of, let's say, doing a job that you're not really loving or having to deal with a difficult situation. And you don't have to be high vibe all the time. That's not what I'm saying. There are still ways to find positive glimmers and silver linings, even in the most undesirable circumstances. Speaking of circumstances, if you haven't watched my Circumstances Are Fake video yet, you definitely need to watch it because I even watch it sometimes when I need a little nudge to remember that our 3D does not dictate whether or not we get our manifestations. We need to hold a vision in our minds, in our 4D imagination, consciousness, in order to see it show up in our reality. It could be as simple as reminding ourselves, nope, I'm not choosing that story. I'm in charge and I don't accept that as part of my reality. Just saying that to yourself and going about your day. It could be that easy, but it is so important to pay attention to what we're thinking and what our awareness is on so that we're not perpetuating a reality that we don't want and we're actually using the law of assumption, assuming what we want to be true in our favor and not just going back to the old familiar patterns that we're so comfortable in, but that are not serving us anymore. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to work together, you know how to reach me. Look at the description below. Leave some yellow hearts and stars to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Welcome to the journey, fam. And I will see you again soon.